Alrighty, guys. uh, when some people found out that I was going to have to take this all apart again, they're like, hey, why don't you do a live stream with some of that stuff since you've already recorded video on how to pull this thing. I thought that was a great idea. So I got a couple of hours here before I have to get the kids, and so I figured I'd spend some time on it. I'm hoping to get this thing done. Today's Thursday. I'm hoping to get this thing done by Saturday, maybe Sunday, and get the transmission to the transmission shop. Now, for those of you who are not familiar, there is a problem in the transmission, something that they missed, and they are owning up to it. They will, in fact, do the repairs internally on the transmission and give it back to me at no cost to me. The only thing I'm going to have to pay for is transmission fluid. I've got plenty of antifreeze, so I'm not worried about that. So I'm going to have to pick up another couple gallons of transmission fluid, but, you know, that's fine. It actually takes 3.5 gallons. So I set up the camera over here. I literally have not touched my garage since I pulled the car out when I finished. Okay, so I've got tools scattered everywhere, so you're going to see some boring fumbling around for the right socket. You know, I don't know off the top of my head what the sizes are of some of these sockets, so I usually just go over to my box and just kind of grab some sockets and do whatever. Fortunately, this isn't going to take nearly as long as it did the first time, simply because, you know, I have done this before, and a lot of the stuff actually doesn't need to be disconnected. A lot of the wiring harnesses don't need to be disconnected that I thought were going to need to be disconnected. And, you know, I've got the tools for the pulleys now, so I don't have to worry about trying to manhandle that. So anyway, I mean, you know, I'm just going to kind of go at it gradually, and I should be able to have this thing out, I'd say, by Saturday. And then, obviously, back to the transmission shop. So this is just kind of an unscripted kind of me just working in my garage for a couple hours. I did not pull the front end, or I did not reinstall the front end. You can see I don't have any headlamps. In fact, I did not even, the fan shroud, I did not even reattach the fan shroud to the car because I didn't want to do all that stuff just to have it all pulled back out again. So, you know, it's basically, it's kind of like a shell in a way. I didn't even put the strut braces back in. I mean, I drove it nice and easy getting it to the transmission shop and back. But anyways, you guys are probably tired of me talking because that's getting nowhere. But anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all the stuff on top first. And I'm hoping to get all that done today. I don't even have to remove the exhaust manifolds. I really don't. There's a lot of stuff here I don't even have to touch, which is really, really nice. Plus, some of the stuff I was having a real difficult time getting to, I made it easier to get to that stuff by rerouting some of this. And so, like, for example, the hose clamps on the radiator, I went ahead and positioned those so that I can easily, I mean, I can see one of them right here. I can easily reach down and grab that hose clamp, whereas before it was kind of really low, so I had a problem getting to that. So, anticipating the possibility of me having to pull this apart again, either someday or, you know, sooner, I went ahead and did some things to make it easier. I don't even have to remove the crossover. I'm not going to have to remove the starter because I can reach down and grab the few wires that I'm going to have to disconnect that actually stay with the car while the engine is coming up. There's only a couple of those that actually need to stay in the car, so I can easily remove those. But things like the NOx sensor, that's all part of the wiring harness. That doesn't go to the car. That doesn't stay at the front here. It actually all comes up with it. So there was a lot of things that I disconnected the first time I don't even need to bother with this time. And if you look in the GM manual, I mean, a lot of it was me following that, not to a T, but you know, I wrote down a list of all the harnesses that I unplugged, you know, and I got pictures and obviously video. I don't need to worry about that anymore because I know exactly what I do need to disconnect, what I don't need to disconnect. I mean, it's actually, I think the hardest part about all of this is actually going to be lifting it over this. But, so anyway, I mean, here I am. I'm just basically going to take it all apart again, and, you know, it is what it is. I mean, I'm probably not even going to have to get rid of the alternator. I think the alternator can just stay right where it's at because there's enough room for me to shift the motor forward and clear the alternator. I mean, the alternator was really never in the way to begin with. I don't know. I might just I might take it off, but anyway. So I'm gonna start with the top stuff. I'm gonna get the front end off. I mean, I don't have, this is only being held in by 3 bolts right now. 3 of the fender bolts right here is actually where it's being held in, and I drove it there and back without a problem. I didn't even light up my hood. I just I took some paper and just kind of put it in between the hood to make sure it wasn't going to scrape up the paint, and it it did just fine. I don't have any scratches either on the hood or on the fenders. So yeah. Anyway, this will give me another opportunity to look over some of the wiring harnesses that I didn't get to, like this big one up here for the engine management. I didn't repair that one, but I figured since it was on top and it was easy to get to, I was going to get to it later, but I can do that while the motor's off. So yeah, anyway, you'll see me fumbling around with tools, finding tools. Yeah, I've got tools over here, I've got tools over here, you know, I've just got tools everywhere. And it's just one of those things where I was so excited to get everything back together. I just kind of dropped everything where it was just to get it all back together, started and back on the road. So, anyway, here I am in my garage. I'm going to pull this LS4 and the transmission out as a complete unit, and I know exactly what I need to get out, what I don't need to get out. I'm going to take care of that right now. First of all, I'm going to have to get this. I'm probably going to be looking around for some bags. I'll show you. I've got these Ziploc bags, and what I did was, for example, this is the bag that goes the torque converter bolts. So I put everything in bags, every individual set of nuts, bolts, whatever. So for an alternator bolts go in here. You know, for the front manifold, all the manifold bolts would get their own bag. Basically, I split it up into different bags so that I knew exactly what bolt goes where. You know, I got 100 of these bags for a couple bucks, so pretty reasonable. So anyway, like I said, you'll see me kind of moving around looking for different bags because I didn't put all the bags away. You'll see me checking the time from time to time because I do have to get my kids, and yeah, so I mean, that's basically it. And like I said, I don't have the sizes of all the bolts, and not only that, but my impact gun busted, and I was lucky enough to get everything apart, and I did put it all back together without the impact. I've got a torque wrench, so I'm torquing everything down to spec, so it's not like I need the impact gun really. I'm just hoping, you know, the worst part I think I'm going to have is that the wheel bearings. That was the most difficult part for me, so we'll just have to wait and see. So anyway, as I said, I've got this thing hooked up by 2, I think they're 10 millimeter, or 3 10 millimeter bolts, and so you'll see me go behind camera. I've got my box of, you know, my pile of crap over here that you know, I'm using, but this has been a learning experience, let me tell you. This is just one of those things that you know, it is what it is. I mean, I made the mistake of, you know, having somebody do the transmission for me, a transmission shop, okay? That was my mistake, and it sucks. What the hell is it? It sucks, but see, the thing is that this is all, you know, a lesson to be learned. It's just, you know, it's just one of those things that I wish I could have done it differently, but it's, like I said, it's a lesson for all of you to learn to, if you're going to go with a triple edge, You know, Triple Edge, I know that some people say that they get way too much credit and way too much attention. Dave Norris, who runs the place, he knows what he's doing, okay? He's been working on these for a long time. Research and development that has gone into these particular transmissions, and, you know, it just, even more research went into it when they decided that they were going to put a V8 behind this transmission. So he sells transmissions outright. They're already built, they're already tested. It's basically a grab and go, drop it in, and you're done. And it's just one of those things that, you know, I thought I could save some money, which in the end I ended up coming out about break even. I thought that I could save some money by having a shop, a local shop, which I got a reasonable deal. I only paid $500 for them to pull everything apart and supposedly inspect everything, which, come to find out, they actually did not do. But so, you know, it's just one of those things that it was a lesson. It was definitely a lesson learned, and it's something that I hope none of you are gonna have to run into in the future. That, you know, you're gonna have the same problem as me. Man, I forgot how hard these are to reach. Again, I have my air wrench. I'll probably use that for some of the stuff, but for little stuff like this, I'm not even gonna bother. So anyway, I feel like I'm kind of talking to myself a little bit here. But I'll tell you what, getting the car on the road and actually driving it again, wow. You know, getting it into second gear, once it was in second gear, I had all the power in the world, you know, from the motor. You know, that definitely wasn't, you know, it wasn't like the transmission itself just wouldn't go like it used to. You know, it's just first gear. First gear was the gear that was giving me the problems. And I kind of wonder too, because when I started it up, when I was at the shop, I heard the same exact sound, that same grinding sound that I heard before I took it to the training shop, before I busted everything apart. I heard that same exact sound, and I thought to myself, "Oh, that's great. So all of everything inside is all messed up. The filter's probably clogged. You know, whatever else could possibly be going on." But it drove just fine, and the noise went away almost immediately. So I was a little bit nervous about that I'd be stuck on the side of the road or something, because it just kind of was doing the exact same thing that it did before. Fortunately, didn't have that problem. It's clear. Like I said, I was lucky enough to not put all this stuff back together. I need my extension for this one, maybe. Oh, there it is. I can't see any of the comments, so if you guys are making any comments while I'm doing this, I won't be able to see them unless I happen to go to my phone and look. So yeah, lesson learned. You just don't, if you want it done right, you know, and I can't really fault the shop. I mean, they should have taken a closer look at some of that stuff. That was one of the things that I was upset about. I mean, he didn't even look at the input drum, and he flat out said, "Hey, I rebuilt everything with the parts you provided." Didn't even look at the input drum. He said there's probably a crack in there that he didn't notice. And Dave Norris over the phone from Triple Edge, he actually made that comment to me. He told me, he said a lot of shops don't bother taking the input drum apart. And, you know, that just kind of bothered me a little bit because I was, thinking to myself, well, if you've got it all open, why not take care of it all while you're there? But apparently that just wasn't on the list of things for them to look at. No, whatever. All I know is that they guarantee that they're going to get it right this time. Because if this happens again, they are definitely going to be paying the labor to put this back together and take it all apart again. Why isn't this falling? That's weird. This bolt here is grabbing on the very, very end here. I don't know why. That's strange. I don't know why it's doing that. It should just fall right out. It's the bolt itself is actually stuck in the fascia. It's not attached to the fender anymore. That is so weird. I don't know why it's not dropping. The bolt itself is out, but it's like stuck. There. See that? I don't know why that is. Huh. It's stuck in there. That was weird. I'll have to take a look at that later. That was that clip that made that scratching sound. That wasn't rubbing up against anything. Huh. That is weird. Well, I guess I'm not going to have to worry about that bolt. I'll have to look at that later. Same thing over here. I wonder why I did that. Both sides. Well, anyway, it's out now. So I know you guys probably haven't seen this yet. I'm on the LS4 Nation Facebook. Underneath here is the transmission cooler. I know you probably can't see it from that camera angle. Really nice cooler from Triple Edge. And although it's cold out and I haven't had all this stuff together, I didn't get above 160 degrees on the 5 or so miles that I had to actually drive it. So, pretty pleased with that. And I'll probably get all that out later. So I'm going to go ahead and work on the intake. Actually, I should probably disconnect the battery first before I go there. As not even gonna have to bother pulling out the battery. I mean, I can just literally leave it right where it's at. Still gonna have to pull the fuse box. I can almost get away with it, but I think I'll go ahead. If the battery, if it looks like it's gonna be in the way, then I can obviously pull that apart and get that out of there. If it looks like it's going to be in the way. Again, I haven't hooked any of this stuff up, back up. I don't have it in the harnesses or anything, just because I didn't want to have to do all this work of putting everything back together just to take it all apart again. So I'm actually saving quite a bit of time by not even excuse me, not even taking that stuff apart. In fact, I may get lucky and not even have to remove. I probably should, just in case. Looking at that, I'm gonna say, because I'm gonna have to get rid of the hood latch so that I can get the cherry picker in here far enough where I'll be able to like I said, this is all me and my tools everywhere, just kind of fumbling around finding stuff. I should have cleaned up while I didn't have the car here, but I was actually really busy the last 3-4 days. A lot of different stuff was going on, so I didn't have much time to mess with it, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But yeah, my confidence level in doing a project like this is super high. I just, other than not remembering what size some of this stuff is, as far as everything else goes, this is going to be super easy. I mean, it really is. And it's intimidating. It definitely is. I mean, when I was first looking at doing something like this, it was quite, it's quite the project to take on. You got people who do this on a daily basis. They don't have a problem doing it. Oh, what the hell? These things can come up all as one or what? This tab over here, I know, broke the last time I was in at it. Holding this up. Okay. Guess the whole thing's gonna come up then. I get a chance to mess with it. There's something stuck on this side. Oh, that's weird. Yeah, little things like that. I don't know what the hell that's stuck on. There we go. Oh, yeah, this one too. One. There we go. Damn. Well, one of the tabs broke off. Probably manhandling it too much. Here's the ECM and the TCM. And as I did before, I kind of put everything back together so that so here's your map sensor. It's on the inside here, and probably take some more air to that. My air compressor. But for now, I'm just going to put the filter on top, and then I'm going to plug this hole down here so that no dust or anything else can get in there. My paper towels went. There we go. There we go. Alrighty. So what do we want to do next? As I said, a lot of this, like the starter and so on, I don't even need to touch that. There's a couple of wires that I do need to get rid of. The starter positive, the big red starter positive that's down here, does have to be disconnected, but the other positive can stay right where it's at. All this ABS stuff, you know, this stuff is all going to have to come apart. All these harnesses here, shit. All these harnesses here are going to have to come off. Let's get some zip ties for that so that I don't break that. This dreaded, on the brake booster, there's a harness back here. This thing was a real pain to get out. I don't know, maybe it wasn't the brake booster one. I'm trouble remembering how I got this off. Out. There we go. And power for the reservoir, that stays. That doesn't have to be moved. There's one harness on the back side of the ABS control module. That's the one that I broke first time through because I couldn't get it out. That one I'm probably gonna have to look at later because there's a on the underside, the way that they put this thing in, actually on the underside is this one. Yeah, because the release, there we go, got it. The release is on the other underside of this control module, so it's really hard to reach. Alright, so those harnesses are taken care of. The motor's still warm, so I'm not going to do anything with the fuel yet. Just to be on the safe side, I'm going to let the motor cool completely down before I do that. I don't even need to disconnect the solenoid that's on top here to the gas tank. I don't need to disconnect that. I will have to drain the fluids before I disconnect these two here. Okay, so the transmission, that can stay. It's kind of hot back here actually. This thing's still warm. There's one harness that goes to the magnesteer. It's on top of the transmission. That one harness, I gotta pull that. Try to get some light down here if I can. One of my stands actually broke. One of the legs broke off, and I think if I just get a screw, put it in there, that should be fine. These are super bright lights. They're 60 watt equivalent, and they're LED lights. They're 300 watt LEDs, or that's what they put out. So they use 60 watts. They're not 300 or 600 watt. They're a 300 watt equivalent light, and the knock sensor, I don't have to disconnect that. There's another harness here for the knock sensor. That can stay. So yeah, that can all stay. Well, I'm gonna grab a bite to eat real quick, and then I'll get this thing started back up for you guys. I'll just leave the camera running after I get back, and I'll just keep it running while I'm actually doing the work, but I actually haven't eaten since early this morning, so I'm going to grab something to eat real quick, and then keep working on that, so I'll get the stream going back up here pretty soon.